Hello and welcome to the inside of a Volkswagen Caddy Maxi 2-litre TDI. My name is Ciro De Siena, and before we carry on with this review, I checked Cars.co.za and we have over 220 caddies available. Put a link to those in the description below. So if you're looking for a caddy, you will almost certainly find one on our site. Right, here we go. A review of the aforementioned Volkswagen Caddy.
Dream, search, drive. Cars.co.za.
Budget insurance. Affordable because you can't afford not to.
So I've picked up quite a lot of excitement on social media and generally in the market about the new Caddy. I think people really warmed to the last one. It proved to be a very practical, very frugal, very effective runaround, both for commercial industry and for families as well. And of course, Volkswagen is hoping that with the new generation, people might fall for it in the same way they did with the previous generation. And it is quite an interesting car because, like I said, you can get the cargo panel van. Those start at about 400,000 Rand. And then Volkswagen sort of zhuzhes them up a bit and makes them a bit fancier and puts touchscreens in and 7 seats and then calls it the Caddy Maxi and gives it some extra length. And then you end up with this, the 601,000 Rand top of the range Caddy with a 2-litre TDI engine underneath the bonnet. And let's maybe start there with the engine. Very good 2-litre, I think, from Volkswagen. You find it in a number of their products. It's been going for a while now. It's sort of a tried and trusted power plant. It's got 81 kilowatts and 300 of newtons meters, and it feels good. It never really feels like you have a shortage of power or torque. But now you may have noticed that I'm using my left hand often to change gears using this stick instrument in the center of the car. Some of you may not be so familiar with this item down here in the middle, and that is because at the moment Volkswagen South Africa actually can't get hold of any DSG caddies. The DSG box takes extra chips, and of course there is a massive semiconductor crisis, and so we are quite far down on the list of countries that require DSG caddies, and so we don't have any. And I think that's a bit of an issue, and I'll tell you why. I think this Caddy is a great family car, But what do families do? They run around all the time. Your kid needs to go to practice violin on a horse in the afternoon after school, and so you have to go and run around all the time. And I don't think you want to be doing that in a manual car. If you're going to be sitting in traffic, running all over town, I do think you want an auto or a DSG. So that's a little bit of an issue at the moment. It's not Volkswagen South Africa's fault. They've told us they just can't get any at the moment. And so if you buy a Caddy right now, you're getting a manual. So for the purposes of this review, I'm not going to focus too much on the gearbox. I've said my opinion on it, and it does work well with the engine. There's nothing wrong with it. I think I would just prefer an auto personally. However, the driving experience in the Caddy has improved significantly, and that's because the Caddy is now built on pretty much the same platform that they built the Golf on and the Tiguan and all those sorts of cars. So you get a very car-like experience driving the Caddy. It rides a bit better than it used to, and I think that's one of the things that gives it a one-up above owning something like an SUV. You get a much more car-like experience from a vehicle like this. So I suppose if you're looking at something like a Caddy, you're thinking to yourself, I need a family car, I need space, but you don't want to necessarily give up the sort of status, I suppose, that comes with owning a nice SUV. And for 600,000 Rand, there are a lot of SUVs out there that you can own. So what might make a Caddy more appealing than an SUV? Well, let me show you. I'm incredibly impressed by the flexibility of this rear area. Look at the sheer size of the cargo space you have when you remove all the seats, because they are pretty heavy. But let me put it all back together for you, and then you can see how much space you get when the second row of seats are in place and then when the third row of seats are in place. So we'll start with this one, and it should be relatively straightforward. Let's see here. Oh, you just gotta find the bolts for that. And I think that's it. Click, click. That wasn't so bad. They've even thought of everything. Look, there's a little handle here so that when you need to pick up the seat and put it in your garage or something. No, that's not right. So release somewhere. Hello? Ah, here we go. Release. There we go. And that is that one back in place. Cool. Right, I'll just do the other one, and through the magic of editing, it'll be there in a second or two. Yeah. No, that's not good. Okay, that's not a one-person job. Help! Help! So now let me re-emphasize, there are 5 seats in place here, 5 full-size seats for full-size people, and this is how much boot you have. Feel the serenity. And you still have the option of adding a 6th and a 7th seat, but if you just take those out and leave those in your garage, this is your boot. But the thing is, you don't actually have to take the rear seats out, because I mean, look at that, and this is very hard wearing, so that won't get damaged. Then you've still got this massive boot space. Then if you need them, of course, you just pull them into place, and you are still left with an enormous boot, which is often not the case when it comes to 7-seater cars. And as we've discovered recently with the Grand Creta review, is that often 7-seaters don't have a parcel shelf, which in South Africa is absolutely critical. So this goes in here somewhere, goes there. Just imagine it. Cooperate! No, man. Why? How is this meant to go? Yeah! My plan worked. Is that in the right place? Probably not. Yes, it is. One more thing I wanted to show you that is now in the right place is this bit of trim over here. That looks very cheap for a 600,000 Rand car. Just looked like they stapled some cardboard to the back of the boot. I think that could have been a bit better. Let's do a third row of seat test. Why not? So this is how you get in. Pull this tab, then pull this tab, and that lifts out of the way, and in you go. Now I just did this in the Grand Creta, and I actually could not fit into that car. How does that lift now? Okay, it doesn't seem to be my problem. Or is it my problem? Ah, there we go. You pull the tab down there. There you go. Yeah, that's pretty good space. I'm pretty impressed by that. I mean, it's definitely for kids and maybe for shorter journeys. That's not bad. I'm pretty comfortable. There's a drinks holder back here for me. No USB ports though, unfortunately, but you do get proper seat belts. They're back there somewhere. Can't reach it. Yeah, that's all right. Let's go to Derbs. And then of course there is the awesome practicality of a double sliding door, which you can child lock at the touch of a button so that your kids don't run out of the car when you stop somewhere. I'm stuck now. The interior feels very utilitarian. I mean, it looks quite fancy, but it's all sort of hard-wearing plastics. Plastic up here, plastic down here. So you can sort of feel this car's commercial roots. Its roots as a well, a delivery van, really, something for industry. But in this top spec Maxi model, the 2-liter diesel, you do get quite a few nice things. So there's a touchscreen infotainment system, and buried in there are all sorts of things like your traction control, for instance, and your climate control. So you may have noticed that there are absolutely no climate control knobs or anything like that. It's a very knob-free environment in here. You press this button here, which says climate, and brings up all of your climate controls. Now that is always available, even if the screen is off. As soon as you hit climate, and you just slide what you need to slide. There's your temperature, there's your fan. So everything is in the screen. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's actually not so bad. Once you're used to it, it's not too bad. 2 USB-C ports down here, but no wireless charging pad. You've got front electric windows and electric mirrors as well. I quite like the lighting control. That's quite fancy. It's like a capacitive, what is that word? Capacitive touch interface over there. The steering wheel does look quite fancy. It's got all your controls on it for your cruise control and all the rest of it, but I think it should have been leather, you know, for 600 grand. This just it feels a little bit nah. But all over the cabin there's just so much storage space. There's a secret little cubby hole down here. There's massive space in the door pockets. This is a huge area over here. There's some storage space over there, another bin over here, and 2 drinks holders. So not the fanciest interior in the world, but I think it does suit the car. So as you can see by my fumbling around with all the removable seats in the Caddy, this is an extremely practical family car. Probably the most practical family car that you can get without buying, I don't know, a full-size Volkswagen Caravelle or something like that. But you don't have to live with a car the size of a bus. You've got a more car-sized experience in the Caddy. But I still think the Caddy is going to be overlooked in the market. The reality is that cars are a little bit of a vanity purchase. You're looking for a little bit of status with your purchase, and that's what SUVs seem to give you. That's what the South African audience, the South African motoring public, seems to be after. But the reality is that if you want a practical family car, I don't think it gets better than this. I really don't. I think though, where you might feel a little bit shortchanged with this car is that you're paying 600,000 Rand before options, and it does feel a little bit cheap in here, a little bit utilitarian, a little bit plasticky. I mean, there are some nice touches which, you know, make it feel a bit more expensive. For instance, this massive panoramic roof, that's quite nice, although it doesn't have a blind which closes over it, so it's always open. So there's nice touches like that which do make you feel like you're getting your money's worth, and it is, at the end of the day, just a lot of car. This is just so much car for your money. But I do suspect that if you got into a 600,000 Rand SUV, it might feel quite a bit more luxurious than this. But it might not have 7 seats, and that's where some of the money goes, to that 3rd row of seating. You know, on this twisty road that runs through to Hout Bay, I'm actually pretty impressed by the way this car handles. You can feel that there's a more car-like chassis underneath you, and it's really easy to drive. It's a smooth driving experience. The steering is quite light, a little bit over-assisted, but I think that's what you want in a car like this. It's easy to row through the gears. The clutch is very light. It's a car that you could probably do quite long distances in without getting particularly tired. And even though there's no auto, it is a 6-speed manual, and that's quite important because that 6-speed lowers the engine speed when you're traveling at highway speed, and that means that the engine's a bit quieter, it's not as grumbly, it's not as high pitched, and that just also makes for a bit more of a relaxing drive as well. So there are 10 Caddies to choose from in the current range as of filming in May 2022. There are 4 versions of the cargo variety, the panel van, and then there are 6 variants of the passenger version. You can get them with slightly different lengths to the car as well, so you get a shorter one, and you can also downscale in terms of things like the color-coded bumpers. That also saves you a little bit of money. The range goes from 400,000 to 600,000, and there are two engines to choose from, a 1.6 petrol and this, the 2-liter TDI. Now, I think this is the one to have because it is very fuel efficient. I'm averaging 7.1 right now to the 100 without even trying, to be honest. So you'll definitely get under 6, especially if you do more open road driving. That's where diesels like this perform at their best. And that, at the moment, with the petrol price that we're dealing with, is a very nice thing. Although diesel's getting very expensive, which is not so great. So ultimately, your decision here will be between an SUV and something like this, an MPV. I think this car is massively more practical than any SUV you're going to buy, particularly with 7 seats, because then you end up with just absolutely no boot when you've got all 3 rows of seats in place. And if you want to stay in the brand, you can get a Tiguan for less than this, but you will be getting the very entry-level Tiguan with that slightly lackluster 1.4 engine, and it'll probably be okay spec in terms of tech and features compared to this car, but it really will be the bottom end of the Tiguan range. If you want to go outside the range, 7-seater, you can get the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro. Those top out at about 550,000, so that's something to consider. But otherwise, not too many 7-seaters on the market. You have to go up, I think, into the Combi range to pick up something with more seats than this. So that, I suppose, is where the decision comes down to. Do you want something extremely practical, or do you want something a little bit more flash like an SUV? Right, thanks very much for watching. We'll put some links to our other Volkswagen content in the description below. And if you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you'll find it in our Sentimental store. We'll put a link to our online shop in the description as well. Alrighty, I'm out. Be safe. Bye. Do you like clothes? I do. This is available right now on our Sentimental shop. Just go to Cars.co.za /shop or look for the description in the link below. See what I did there? Just trying to catch you out. And we've got tons of exclusive merchandise which is designed and made exclusively for our store. I said exclusive twice because it's very exclusive. Also hats.
Budget insurance. Affordable because you can't afford not to.
Cars.co.za